Public Services Commission. I'd like to welcome everybody, every member that's here, and we'll start the meeting. To start the meeting, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm going to do the roll call. Tonight we do have a quorum. Bill Kostick, Chairman. Lance Schmidtke. Lance, calling you in a minute. Lance is a new member. Welcome, Lance.
Thank you.
Ray Biddle.
Here.
And Kevin Flavin. Three of our commissioners, one's out of town, one's not feeling well, and one is, Lenny Pedestris is a certified fire department trainer, and they're having a graduation ceremony, I think at Eastern Michigan University. And Lenny asked to be excused tonight because he's been teaching the course and people are graduating. So that's great. Lenny does a fine job for us and for the fire department. So that's the roll call. Next item is approval of the agenda. And are there any additions or deletions from the agenda? Anybody? Hearing none. Next we're going to have a public comment before we get into the minutes. We are delighted tonight to have a couple of guests, and one of them is Margaret Shelton, who's not new anymore, but she's on the Board of Trustees for the township. Margaret, I'm very glad to see you, and also Bob Zalesko, who's a frequent attendee, so thank you for being here, Bob. Margaret, it's great to have you here.
Thank you. I just, Margaret Shelton, Bellevue Road. I'll follow the rules. I just wanted to tell you guys, I've been watching you for a while, and I don't want you to think I know, not every commission, mine included, don't get too many visitors. So that doesn't mean people aren't paying attention, and I really do appreciate everything you guys do. Sincerely, I do. Every time I flush a toilet or use my sink or anything else, I realize how important you guys are. Not that that's all you do, but normally I would talk to Derek about some of these things, but I thought I might as well bring them here and then, everybody can hear about them. I think something was mentioned yesterday. Like I said, I live on Bellevue. One of the people down the street has some concerns on the road work that was done. My concern, I didn't notice what they did, but they did have a video, and I think they provided it to Derek. My concern is Bellevue striping. I don't think that's, it's been over a year, and I think it would be good if we had a stripe down that particular road just because of how busy it can be. And I don't know, I think some people don't realize that they have to share the road with you, so the stripe might help a bit. The other thing I wanted to mention is I don't know if anybody has seen the amount of road money from the county, the state funding being given to them. I know the county is getting $239.8 million. That's a 103% increase from last year. They put out a notice showing what road work they were going to be doing, and Groziel, I know this will shock you, is nowhere on that list. I'm concerned about that they're getting that much of a bump, and I'm not for sure if that list that they put out is their full list, but I think it might be worth following up on. This was something that Riley Linting had put out, and I know a lot of the downriver cities got quite a considerable amount of money, and being a township, we have to take money from the county, so that I know that's an issue. So that was the other thing. And then one more item I think is good to look into is the Park Lane Bridge status. I know that, I think Derek, I had talked to you about that really early on, and we were waiting on something from Wayne County because one of the bridge builders that's a resident has provided an option for fixing that Park Lane Bridge, and I think we're waiting on the county. Was that what it was, Derek?
We some time ago had conversations with the county in which we provided a proposal to partner with them and a private individual to do some work on that bridge. I think it was probably over a year ago. They were reviewing it with corporate counsel, and I think eventually what happened was they weren't comfortable with the proposed method of repair. They contend that that bridge needed a complete reconstruction versus the options that were presented by the private entity. I think that, that private entity, didn't agree with that, and had his own engineers that had looked at it and construction specialists. So I think that's kind of where it was left, was the county wasn't willing to budge on that. And I don't know that the financial, the willingness to fund a full reconstruct was there.
Oh, I'm sure it wasn't.
Yeah, so there was just a bit of a debate about what the method was or the extent of the work that needed to be done. That was where the impasse was.
Yeah, and I think when we're lucky enough to have a possible opportunity for a repair I don't know how long that bridge has been out for, but it seems to have been out for a considerable amount of time. I think it's worth maybe pushing on the county a little bit just to see where they're at on this. For that, it's easy for them to say, okay, we don't like this idea, but not propose another one in a timely manner. And I realize we've got an awful lot of bridges that need assistance, but when you have somebody offering you something, which is a considerable savings, I think it might be something maybe we should follow up on and see if we can have that conversation with them again.
Okay,
That was it?
well, stay there. I'm going to respond first.
Okay.
And you touched on several topics, which I'm interested in as well. And then I'll open it up. But number one, I appreciate you coming, and you're welcome to come anytime.
Thank you.
We'd love to have the elected officials come and see what we're all about. And I say that, and John and I have had, and Derek, several discussions about this. We're not the police department. I know you're involved with the police. And we're not the fire department, but we are a public safety issue.
Absolutely.
When you talk about the water system, and and John's very involved in that, and the sewer system, the wastewater plant, those are all safety issues. And so are the roads, of course, and then our drainage and our dishes, and then our refuse. So those are I always say, we do a lot of good things about curbs and gutters, garbage and trash. That's what we deal with. But it's very important stuff.
All important.
And we've talked about maybe this fall, if we can work it out, at our new wastewater treatment plant remodeled, to maybe have an open house there and set up a display about water and so forth.
I think that's a brilliant idea.
Because Public Works is not put in the forefront enough like police and fire are. They have Fire Prevention Week. The police invite people in at the same time, but we sit out there and nobody knows except when the garbage is not picked up or something like that.
I don't know, your Girl Scouts loved it, right? I watched that one. I thought that was...
I heard they had a great visit,
Yeah,
yes.
that was really nice.
So we need to do more of that. So that's number one. But on Bellevue, I agree with you 100%. It was striped before it was paved.
Yes.
I was in favor of striping it. Some residents expressed themselves they weren't in favor of it. I will vote yes to stripe Bellevue, and we do have money in our budget to add that to the list of things to do, correct?
Yeah, we would probably just package it with some other striping that
Yes.
we would do.
So, number one, I hope that before too long, and that might take a few months, obviously, we're not
And
going to bring
that's okay.
a truck over now, but
Right.
by sometime in the fall, it'll be striped, if I have anything to say about it. And Lance, I think you're familiar with it too, so that's number one. Number two, I listened to your meeting last night, and the gentleman who spoke about the cracking. So I rode Bellevue twice today and looked for it, and he said he mentioned 4th Street. I didn't see any longitudinal or cracks of any, I didn't see any on the main run of the street. Where I did see one is on 4th Street.
Oh,
So as it slopes off, we did all we went 50 feet back from the edge of the pavement on Bellevue, and we went 50 feet back so that we weren't bringing gravel out onto the newly paved road all the time. And what I saw is a joint where they must have paved 25 feet of it, and then paved another 25 feet of it, and that's the joint that I see now. I'm gonna ask John to go look at it, or did you look at it? Okay. Did you look at it?
I've got the video
Oh, there's a
that the
video?
resident sent to me of it, but it probably would be better to visit the site.
Did you look at the video?
I did, yeah.
Is it a joint or?
It looks like it's a joint.
Yeah.
We would want
So
to,
where they joined
Take a look at it.
asphalt together.
Right.
And, but at any rate, we've had complaints about the paving there. And the other concern I have on Bellevue is the amount of water that's standing on the road.
Yeah, I had talked to Derek about that, so you and I are definitely aligned. It floods horribly, and I had it, Derek explained it to me. It seems like it's a little more than it
Well,
should be.
what we did is our typical, we put 4 inches of pavement down over the existing pavement.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we milled it up,
Right,
4 inches, and put it down. And so the ground in many of these lots that are water in front of them is an inch or more higher than the
Okay.
pavement surface. No place for the water to go. John and I have talked about this. So I'm going to ask that we see what we can do in some of those cases, John. If you were to drive it today, there's a number of puddles along the edges that, let's say, shouldn't be there. Now, if we'd have put 8 inches of pavement in, we're putting 4 inches in that's
Right.
good, give you a good 15, 20-year pavement for a road like that. So that's an explanation on that.
okay.
So, now, as far as Wayne County, I didn't know about the money. I saw that the article in the Detroit News about the $6 billion that the state legislature's throwing in projects for $3 billion. They have $3 billion worth of money, and $6 billion has been asked for. And I noticed Riley Linting was in the top 20 of requests, and she had asked for $143 million. And I think a big part of that is for that bridge on West Road over the railroad tracks. I think that was 70 million, something like that.
yeah. So
Plus you put some money in for ours.
So a couple of things on that. I think that what you're referring to is a modification of the Act 51 program. So a lot of the increases were going to, obviously, Act 51 eligible communities. So you would see bumps for various cities or bumps for counties for their allocations. I think that's mostly what that was about. Now, there are things such as like state appropriations in the state budget, and there's federal appropriations. I know that Linting has been in contact with us, as well as Camilleri's office has been in contact with us. Couple of things. We had put in an application for money from the state in the state budget for the Grosse-Ile toll bridge. And I know Linting was going to be trying to push for that, and it's part of that package, I believe.
That's good.
That Costick had mentioned, the chairman had mentioned. In addition to that, I know that Wayne County has put in a request for an appropriation from the state level for engineering for the Wayne County Bridge. And that is for the replacement of the Wayne County Bridge, to start an assessment of that. So I know that those are two requests that will be part of the state budget process and part of the money that's been requested by our rep. The township has also put in a federal appropriation request for the Grosse-Ile toll bridge, and that's through Peter's office. So we do have a number of appropriations requests that are out there.
Okay.
And I know I talked to Dingle's office last Friday. They will be working with Linting and Camilleri on the state side of things and trying to advocate for those. So there are some requests out there for some funding for both bridges, actually.
And I think that's really good news. I mean, I would maybe put that as, on the township site so everybody knows how hard you guys are working.
Yeah, and where the residents could help that process is if they advocate for it, right? Like, hey, by the way, this is super important. It would be good if the state listened to our legislators and made these appropriations, because it carries a lot of benefit to the community.
So if maybe you wrote something up and then we can put the emails for all of them that would apply.
Yeah.
And then people can actually go to those, or we can post that to Facebook or, wherever. I think that's a really big thing.
Yep, and things haven't quite been formalized yet. So as soon as we get it formalized, we'll be sure to put it out there. The conversations I think we had with them have just been over the past month or two. So as soon as they have something that's in concrete, then we can get it out there, absolutely.
I think that's all good though, because that means that people understand that work is being done to get funding, additional funding, right? Because the more funding you get, I guess that would mitigate.
And any alternative sources of funding reduce the cost to the resident.
Right.
So.
Okay. See, that's a bonus. That's a good thing. So.
Okay, so then let's talk about bridges. You mentioned the Park Lane Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
It's closed and it has been for, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever.
Right.
And I know the fire department would like to have it open, but we have 3 other bridges that are a problem, more of a problem, that people drive on every day. Last August, as a follow-up to information we had from the county, this commission adopted a letter, a very nice letter, that explained our concerns, and it involved the Ferry Road Bridge, the one over the canal,
Right.
involved the Elba Island Bridge
Yep.
over the waterway there, and the Swan Island Bridge. At a meeting a couple of years ago on the grounds over at Macomb Grounds there,
Okay.
there was some big gathering there regarding the bridge announcements, and several of the county or state people were there. Jamie Churches was there, and Deputy Wayne County Administrator was there. And they made an announcement that within the next couple of years, this was 2003, that they were going to work on the Ferry Road Bridge, the Elba Bridge, and the Swan Island Bridge.
Wayne County mentioned that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And in our letter, August 20th, last year, we let them know that we're waiting to hear what's the schedule. We know money's an issue.
Mhm.
Now, the Ferry Road Bridge, I think these bridges are all critical. John's been under them all. I've been under a couple of them in a boat and see all the pipe hanging, the re-rod hanging. On the Ferry Road Bridge, over the years, I've often called John and said, there's another hole in the abutment you can see the water, a hole like this. And so anyway, we wrote the letter in August, never had a reply. And we didn't just copy Andrew Kandrivas, who was at the time the acting DPS director.
Mm-hmm.
And so we copied several people at the county, and no reply. So we had Derek had a lot facing him last fall with the purchase of
Right.
the toll bridge. So we kind of dropped the issue, but we're going to pick it up again and just request that we get an answer. And I know money's always an issue, but maybe it's the right time to do this with you say there's going to be a pot of money. Roads and bridges are the same thing. So that's number one. My priority would be to fix those 3 bridges that are being driven on first, and then if they have the money, do something with Park Lane Bridge. But right now, every day, people are using those other bridges, and they need to be fixed.
I totally agree with your priority. I guess my issue was that somebody had offered to pay for
Yes,
the
I'm
bulk,
familiar with that.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm familiar with
And
it.
that's why I just don't know why they would turn things like that down. I get there's issues that, but
Well, it's
I
Wayne
think-
County.
exactly. So if there's something I can do, if I can assist you,
I think you got to work through Derek on it.
and, I think we
All
need
I can
to-
do is scream.
Yeah.
He's got to deal with them every day.
And I understand that.
I think we reserved, I want to say it was like $600,000 or $700,000 of our road funds for a little while in the hopes that the Park Lane Bridge option would present itself.
Right.
And eventually, we had to continue to move on that money and put it back into the roads, but, we were that serious about it, so.
Well, yeah, it makes sense, right? If somebody's willing to pay for a bulk of it or handle the bulk of it.
Yeah, we had
Mark-
thought it would have been a great, private-public partnership, between, 2 governmental entities and a private entity. I think that would have been a model for, something that other communities would want to take advantage of.
Which is why if we can push on that, if there's, somebody I can assist with, I would like to do that, because not that I'm not adverse to the priorities, which I understand, but I'm happy to help with anything. So I think we need to, we need to be friends, but I think we need to also not play softball sometimes. That's just my philosophy.
And each of those bridges is at least $2.5 million fix, so it's not inexpensive. And the final thing I want to say is, then there's the Meridian Road. And when we did our bond issue campaign, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but there were discussions between Derek and, at the time, the supervisor, and the county didn't make a commitment, but they said, our plan is, if you're successful with your bond program, and we put that in writing in our brochure we mailed out, we left Meridian out because Meridian is eligible for federal funding. It's the only, it and Park Lane are the only, Parkway, not Park Lane, Parkway, are the only two roads that are eligible for federal funding, which is, if they can get it as a project, it's 80% funding from the feds, and local money is 20%. So we left that up to them. Now, what they did before, from Parkway over to Island, past the new bridge, past Macomb, they fixed that section as they said they would. What we were hoping is that last summer they'd maybe go to Church Road, maybe then this year go to Horse Mill. So Derek and I have talked about this, so we're gonna push again to try to see what we can do about, after this bridge closure is over with,
Right.
to see if they're gonna continue to do some paving. It's not complicated, just mill off what's there and put 3-4 inches back down.
That would be them funding it? Is that?
It would be through their road maintenance group,
Okay.
and that's what they did East River Road with.
Okay.
So where they mill it 3-4 inches, and then they put down 3-4 inches. That would give us at least a fresh pavement for a number of years. So anyway, I'm glad you're here, because I'm glad to tell you all this stuff.
No, I think this is all really good information. I appreciate it.
All right, before you go, I'm going to ask if, Kevin, you have anything you want to say to Margaret?
Margaret, thank you for coming to the meeting and asking excellent questions. I appreciate it. The more eyes and ears that watch this, the better. So
Yeah,
thank you
I
for
agree.
being here and helping.
I think it's really important.
Great.
Thank you.
No
Thank you
comment?
very much, Margaret.
Well, Lance, you've been around, Lance is, welcoming Lance, his father was Les Schmidtke. So Lance was, as I went to the funeral, I heard the stories about how his little kids, their dad was always gone fixing water mains, fixing roads, drains. So Lance is not really a newcomer to this, but do you have anything you want to say?
60 years. No comment at this time.
John?
No, sir, thank you.
And Derek, anything for Margaret? Well, you're welcome to stay for our whole meeting.
I don't know if I'm going to do that, but I do appreciate everything you guys do. And,
Thank you.
if there's something I can do to help, I'm always
Oh, I'm
open
glad to
that.
know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And this is a public discussion, so Bob, you have anything you want to add?
Oh, I might have a few things.
Okay. You know how to raise the podium.
Spinning before.
You had mentioned earlier about public safety. Yes, public safety is probably number one on this island, but you fellas are right up there with it. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. You probably don't have a lot of people coming down here because they have nothing to complain about, because you do a darn good job. And that's a true fact. So that's something to think about.
Well, thank you.
First of all, regarding dust control, I see you have on your agenda Phase 2 tonight. Again, I want to thank you. I publicly thanked the board last night, and I thank you people for all your efforts. And it was so important to get that first application down before that closure. And you folks made that happen. That's going to alleviate a lot of problems for the next couple of months when the heat comes down. There was also another thing on the agenda last night about, I believe it was assessment for Elba. Was that for a road, Derek?
For a repaving of a road, yes.
who leads the charge on that? Does that come from the people, or are they aware that a program like that is available if they want to get involved? How does that program come about? I've done it once before, but it was a lot of hours of residents going around with a petition. Is that the same process?
That is the same process. So it's initiated by the residents. They would, go around and distribute the petition, and then there's a specific process that the township follows in order to
Right.
move forward with that.
Yeah, so Heil and so on and so forth, looking at the drainage and everything. Okay. So if somebody on one of the dirt roads wants to take that on again, they can do that, but there's no invitation or written program out there saying, hey, you can do this. I don't know if people, the reason I'm bringing it up, because I don't think a lot of people know that that's achievable. They don't understand that the county owns the roads and et cetera, et cetera. And it would be nice if we had in our short or long-term plan something to maybe start, whether it be with the community in the assessment and through their tax dollars, and starting to reduce the number of dirt roads that we had on this island, and that would lower our cost on dust control too. It would be a nice future project, so I don't know if you guys have had any thoughts on that.
If residents are interested, we have a packet here at Township Hall that you can pick up, and it gives you all the guidelines on how it all works.
Good.
And so that's available for residents to pick up. The stretch of road that we're talking about for this special assessment is a little bit different because it's not a public road; it's a private road.
Right.
So it's a little bit different than a Wayne County road per se. Which has to be done to Wayne County engineering standards. This one just has to be done in accordance with what our engineers are okay with, which is basically an extension of the method that we're using on our portion of the road or the public portion of Alba. But yeah, if residents are interested, they can come by. Basically what it is, just to let the residents know, you have to receive 60% of the residents in the area in support of a paving project. The township then would perform the engineering. The township would bond the project if it was a significant enough of a project, and then the residents would pay that back through a levy on their taxes or an assessment that would be no longer than the longevity of the improvement. Generally, it's like 15 years. And it's usually split by parcel. Sometimes they'll split it by the footage that you might have on the road. Once it's all complete, that repayment schedule would live the life of the property for that period of time. So if you were to sell the property, the new owner would then take on that responsibility,
Right.
and so on and so forth.
Right. Okay. Well, at least you've made everything aware. You have a packet that people can come down
Yes.
and has direction in it. That's great.
Yep.
Okay. Following up on the comments of Margaret had brought up the almighty Parkway Bridge. I attended the meeting last night also, and it's unfortunate that the township, people like Derek, Joe, you, the board, there's going to be, the friction is going to continue to build. We all know that. And the heat is coming on. And I hate to see the people on Groseal have to take the heat for the blunders of the county. And I think we can all agree upon that we all probably feel similar. I pull out of there every day. And I look to the right to see what's going on. It would be unfair for me to say that nothing's going on because I don't know that for a fact. But it's awful quiet over there. And when I look at the magnitude of this job over an 8-week period of time, and I threw a manpower of 3 at it, again, goes back to management. But whatever happens in the next 8 weeks, everything is dependent upon how long that Park Lane Bridge is down. I'm hoping they can finish it in the 8 weeks. Now, I and some others have asked for a progress report. How's it coming along? And the information we get from the county is everything's on schedule. I don't have a schedule to measure it to, and neither does anybody else. So that answer is up in the air. I don't know what else we can do at this time, but I think everybody is aware of it. And if there's anything that we can do to help, please don't hesitate to ask. Wayne County needs to be held accountable, and we know how difficult that is. I'll come right out and say it. They're a dysfunctional operation based on our past experience. And I hope that Warren Evans is watching. We need some attention down here. If people don't know what's going on, and I didn't want to do that tonight, they're going to draw their own conclusions that, hey, nothing's happening. When they're not well informed, they draw their own conclusions, and then things become disrupted, friction creates heat, so on and so forth. And we're all trying to eliminate that on Groseal. I hate to see my board take the heat because everything is dependent upon every day that Park Lane Bridge is down. If the Park Lane Bridge isn't down, these people aren't going to be taking the heat on the toll bridge that they're taking right now. So, with that, I just wanted to follow up on Margaret's comments, and hopefully the county is going to do something. Communication would be great, but as we know, we've all attempted to make that happen in the past, and it's very difficult. So let's hope for the best, and let's hope in 8 weeks that bridge is open.
You mean 7 weeks?
Yes, actually, Ray, it's going to be. We're in the second week now, and we're going into the third.
Yes.
And you would think I don't know. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but I understood we were going to do stringers, girders, cross plates, horizontal, whatever. But my gosh, I would expect to hear a little bit of noise if that was going on. Even some welding, see some flash, you know. And there are a lot of cars that go down there every day, and I'm noticing more and more. And people are getting out of their cars and looking to see if something's going on, and they're taking pictures. So we all know it's building. It's building.
And you know, I also stopped and looked today from in front of the wastewater plant. I saw 2 white pickups. I didn't see anybody moving around.
Nobody.
That's what I saw today.
2 trucks, a trailer, and I believe there's a piece of equipment there. I'm not sure what it is.
Well, we'll see what happens.
But we're all aware of what's going on. I just hope that Wayne County will start letting us know and communicate as this program goes along. And hopefully that will take some of the load off of the people on the toll bridge and the people that are trying so hard to rectify the problem here on Groseal.
I think one of my observation over the years is that the number of personnel they have that are assigned as leaders in the engineering department and the inspection department, the roads division, it changes so much anymore that you meet somebody and then they're gone. They've either quit, been fired, or moved, been promoted. We have a lot of people at the top and nobody. Anyway, I get your point. Thank you.
We went through Beverly, we went through Andy, and now we got another new guy that's been there 7 months. He wasn't even well versed to answer the questions during the interview. So his answer was the bridge is rusting and we have to promote safety. That was it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks for your comments. Appreciate it. And by the way, getting the oiling done before the bridge was closed was due to John and Derek.
I saw them out there.
Yep.
Good job.
Thanks, John and Derek. All right, so now anybody else want to speak? Okay. We're going to continue with our meeting. Next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes of our March 11th meeting. Are there any comments about the March 11th meeting? Lance, you weren't here.
None?
Ray?
Nope.
Kevin? Derek, I have one.
Okay.
It's on page 7. And just to correct things, in the paragraph under item number 10, action item number 10,
Mm-hmm.
it talks about the motion that was made. We did not approve the open space budget nor the BPAC budget.
We removed those from the motion, didn't we? Okay.
I didn't want the record to carry that. Okay?
Yeah, one point of order. So if Schmicky was not in attendance, we wouldn't have enough votes to be able to approve the minutes, because he wouldn't be able to vote if he wasn't there.
Right.
So we would have to table this and put it towards the.
Well,
to
I
the
think
next
it's a
meeting.
minor enough point. I think it's factual that I'm suggesting that you just delete those because we didn't do it.
Yeah, and that's fine. We can make that amendment, but aside from the amendment, I don't believe that the commission could approve the minutes because you don't have enough members here that were in attendance at that meeting that could approve it. Because you would have to be in attendance to know what was said as part of the board or the commission, so it would just
I'll
have.
pay, if you're gonna bring it back in the
I'll
next
bring it back.
agenda, don't bring the whole 7 pages or 8 pages, just bring that one page and we'll amend that. How's that?
Sure.
Follow me? I get what you're saying, so, anyway, other than that, if there are no comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of our March 11th meeting. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, you can't, no, you're not
Right.
going
Can't.
forward with it,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's just
Sorry.
table it.
We're-
We'll just
all right.
table, bring it up next month.
Correct.
Misspoke, okay, thank you. Next, we have approval of bills, the vouchers that are on pages 9 through 13. I trust you've all had a chance to look those over. Are there any comments? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the vouchers? Oh, I'll make the motion for approval. Is there support?
Yes.
Yes.
Ray spoke up first. So we have a motion and we have a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the vouchers ending April 30th, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So the motion passed. Next, we have a review of our statements of revenues and expenditures. We're just getting started in the fiscal year, so we have 1 month under our belt through April. Any comments? We'll just, if there aren't anybody wants to raise, we'll just receive and file those. Next, we have approval of our treasurer's report. We have our treasurer sitting right here. But you don't have to comment unless you want to. I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
Been approved by Flavin. Is there any comment? All in favor of approving the treasurer's report for the month of April, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So the treasurer's report's approved. One comment on the treasurer's report, Derek. When we meet next month, I see that we have $1,800,000 road funding investments. And I know that you were forecasting we'd have approximately $1 million to do things with this year. And looks like we'll have a little more than that, although we have to make bond payments out of this.
Yeah, we are having some issues with ASI. So the work that was done last fall, there are still some outstanding items that haven't been invoiced, close to about $180,000. But we have some issues with restoration and the way that the contract works out. If they don't restore things to the way that they should have, then they forfeit those dollars. So there is a little bit of about $200,000 that's in flux because of that contract. So it may or may not be your 1.8, it might be closer to 1.6, but we'll figure that out probably in the next month or so. Raines is working on that with their contract and with ASI, and we might end up just liquidating everything. So
Okay.
in that case, we wouldn't owe it, but if they come back and actually do the restoration, then we might owe it, so.
All right, well, I just a thought about trying to find
More
another
money.
100,000 or so.
Right.
Derek, would you tell the community what ASI is?
They were the contractor that did the asphalt last year for us.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Now, next item are action items, and do we want to ask Ryan to deal with the 2 items on the back of the agenda first, so he doesn't have to stay,
Sure.
unless he wants to? You have a copy of the agenda, Ryan?
I do, yeah.
We're going to switch things around a little bit. You're going to have to sit through all this other discussion. You're welcome to stay the whole meeting. I just thought might accommodate you a little better if you were to come up to the podium. Under item, these are just reports, really, discussion items. So the items are update to the sludge hauling and then the odor control install at the wastewater plant. Introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ryan.
manager of the wastewater plant. Sludge hauling was finished in late March. It went well. No issues with that. And that's one of 2 hauls this year. So they will be back in the fall time, September. So that all went well.
Good.
Problems. The odor control install is complete, which is in the primary room. And it was installed early April, and I believe it's working well. Because that fan is always on in that room. And it seems like outside of the plant, if we're walking around, I can notice that smell, but we're of the citrus solution. But we're gonna have to wait until maybe early summer if the residents notice that who had the complaint. So we'll just have to wait. But
You believe it's helping at this point?
I believe it's efficient. It is masking that odor, and it was worth the money, in my opinion. Let me see what else I have. The level 1 sludge transfer pump and line pump install was complete in late April, so that went well. Then that was in the budget. So that's up and running. No issues with that. I also have on my list an item which is in the budget for this year for the lift stations on the island. It's to purchase 4 of the radars, their level indicators, and the multi-smart systems at 4 of the 5 lift stations. We had in the budget $70,000, and it came out to be $68,000 in the latest in this estimate, which is valid right now. So I just want approval on that so that we can order that.
Is that something that can wait till our June meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just in the budget, all the way up until April next year.
Okay.
But it's next on our list.
Who's the vendor for that?
Kennedy Industries.
All right.
So,
Okay.
yep. Let's see if I got anything else. That's about it. Then the Amied bid was in.
We're gonna
You guys
approve
are
that
gonna
next.
talk about that.
Yeah, so if you want to stay up there for that one, you
Yep.
can help with that, but,
So if you're done, we'll go back to Derek and what page is that?
19.
19. So the motion is, based on the recommendation of the township engineers, that the Public Service Commission recommends to the Township Board the award of a contract to the low bidder Monroe Plumbing and Heating at a cost of $92,000 plus a 10% contingency, making the total authorization $101,200. Derek, would you explain the history?
Yeah, if you remember, probably 3 months ago, 4 months ago, this came to the commission for a recommendation to the board. What this is a filter that filters processed water to be able to be utilized in the plant for other processes. So the one that's there right now is in poor condition. It's got a lot of pinholes in it. It's rotted out. When you guys had seen it a couple of months ago, the proposal to you was to buy the filter because there's some time that's necessary to be able to get that product here. We were trying to get ahead of that. So the authorization to just buy the filter and then we would bid the installation was going to come at a later date. It actually went all the way up to the board. The board approved the purchase of the filter. Once we got a little bit farther into that process with the engineers, we came to the realization that it might be best just to package the two together. So we pulled back on the purchase. went back to the drawing board and put them together as a package and put it out to bid over the past month or so. We received 2 bids. Monroe Plumbing and Heating was the low bid at $92,000. There is a little bit more work involved in the install of this because the product has slightly changed from its previous design. So that was kind of one of the reasons that we wanted to back off on the buying of the product and putting it together as a package so that the vendor had say-so in, the install of that and how they would do it, with the product, rather than just having it here for them to have to work on. So there was a recommendation included in the packet from our engineer for the award to Monroe Plumbing and Heating. It is a budgeted item, and it's something that they use at the plant. So the recommendation from DPS and also from our engineers is to award. If you do that this evening, then it'll go to the board for approval at their next meeting, which would be in June, I think the 9th.
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the recommendation. Is there support?
I'll second.
Okay, any questions from the commission? Lance?
Nope.
We did discuss this at budget time,
Yeah, we did.
so if there are no other questions, we have a motion, we have a support. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have the purchase of the filter, so,
All right,
thank you.
thank you.
Next item on our agenda is the recommendation that the Grosse Ile Public Service Commission hereby recommends to the Township Board the approval of a second application of dust control with D&D Emulsions for the 25-26 fiscal year at an estimated cost of approximately $49,815. I'll make a motion for approval. Is there support?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion. Any discussion from any of the commissioners? Lance, Ray? Derek, I think we all understand what this is all about, so.
Yeah, and there was a comment, thanks to myself and to John for the previous application. Really, it goes to John, it should go to John and John only, because he literally takes these guys around the entire island and makes sure that the application is done where it needs to get done. He spends days with them, just making sure it's done correctly. And I'm in contact with him about phone calls that we might get about hitting certain areas that maybe needed additional attention. So, and John's very accommodating to those requests. I think we've talked at length about the material that they put down, D&D does. It's far superior to anything that we have looked at in the past, such as calcium chloride. We usually try to space the application so that we have enough coverage throughout the summer. So I think about a year or two ago, we started going to 2 applications. We usually do one right around May. This year, it was a little bit early. The second application would be sometime like in the beginning of July, to make sure that it carries through August and September. So if approved or recommended, it will go to the board for approval at their board meeting in June as well.
If there aren't any questions, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of awarding the second application of the dust bond D&D to D&D Emulsions for the price of $49,815. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discussion of the manager's report. Derek's got several items to quickly go through with us. And you're going to start with the project status report that the engineers provided?
Yeah, some of the items under my report might be covered under the project status report, so if they are, I'll just skip them later in my report. But NPDS permit application for the township, we have an annual report that we have to submit to Eagle that's been completed. Sanitary sewer televising and cleaning. John, do you want to touch base on that briefly as far as the status?
Section 1 was completed. There's a follow-up meeting on Friday morning regarding any necessary repairs. So I'll know more at that time.
That was completed by the...
Our new contractor.
Okay. And Sahil in his report mentioned that Section 5 was completed as well by the old contractor.
Correct.
This spring?
Well, they finished last year, and then he came back this spring and did a little bit more to finish that up. So I'm sorry, yeah, section 5 was completed. Now they're going to section 1. I'm sorry. My
They're
mistake.
working well?
Very well.
Margaret, I'm going to just mention this to you since you're here. We have a plan every 5 years. We have there's a map that was developed years ago that shows 5 sections of the township. We go through every sanitary sewer and clean the sewer and then pull a TV camera through it to see if there's any structural failures. And when there is a structural failure, when they pull the camera through, it measures every foot you pull it through from manhole to manhole. So if at 231 feet, you know a structural problem, you can go dig it up at 231 feet from the manhole and repair it. I don't know if you knew what that.
I did not, but I will tell you, that's very comforting to know. I know that sounds silly, but I'm one of those people that's like scared that, anything that's got to do with plumbing, I'm concerned about.
Very good. Anyway, thought I'd mention that.
No, that's a good one.
So,
I thought your lead one was interesting too. I think, didn't you guys do something with the lead pipes?
you mean lead pipe removal?
I think so, yeah.
That's in our budget.
Okay.
And Derek and John run that program. I think we budgeted $70,000 this year. Is that right? To,
Checking the water, isn't it?
yes, this is for drinking water, right. Where there are lead pipes identified, we go in and we're required to by the state.
Yeah, so there's a reporting requirement. We test the water, but also there's requirements to replace lead pipes on a set schedule,
Yeah,
so.
I thought that was interesting.
Next is manholes.
If you remember, we bid out this project. We had 2 bids. The low bidder pulled their bid, so we're in the process of pulling on their bond, their bid bond. That project is out for rebid with a pre-bid meeting on May 22nd. So when those bids come in, we'll review them with the engineer, and then eventually it'll make its way to the commission for review.
I thought we were gonna work with Allen Park, their contractor. No?
No, this is
That was something years ago?
yeah, and because if you remember, the funding for this work it's federal money, so the Allen Park contract is, I believe, local money, so they have different requirements.
Oh, okay. Very good.
The HVAC lab unit, the HVAC at the plant, that project is 100% complete. I submitted the final voucher to the EPA for the closeout of that project. So I think we've already been reimbursed about $550,000 on the $750,000 project. My last invoice is, I think, $47,000. So we should have that in the next couple of days. I've already gotten clearance from EPA on that. So that was like I said, about $750,000 or $800,000 project for which the federal government's covering, I think, $550,000 or $575,000 of that. So. And then the remainder of that appropriation will go to that sewer rehab work. Basis of design, so that's our ACO work. The majority of that work is complete. The performance, project performance certification work plan was submitted to Eagle prior to the deadline. We met with Eagle last week, I believe, on the PPC. They want to see some changes and some additional information from the PPC. So we're in process with the engineers of modifying that. So basically, what a PPC is you do the work at the plant in compliance with the administrative consent order, but then you have to prove that the improvements that you did satisfy the administrative consent order through actually showing it through function. So does that make sense? Yeah. So you have to prove it. They don't just take your word that took care of it. You have to actually physically prove that's the case. So that's the process that we're going through right now. Asset management plan preparation on the sewer system, wastewater treatment plant. So we're good on that. That's pretty much closed out. Ryan talked about the Lyman slurry transfer pump replacements. So I think we just have 1 payment remaining on that work. Effluent and influent meter replacement. So they're reviewing the different methods and types of meters. They have to file a Part 41 permit from Eagle to authorize the replacement of those, so that's in process. We talked about the amide filter today. That's the removal and replacement of the self-cleaning filtration system. We talked about the water asset management plan at the last meeting. I have it underneath my report. If you recall, when Maria was here from Fishbeck, there were a couple of minor items that we wanted to have modified as part of that plan. So I know that we talked with we talked with John afterwards, and I believe that those modifications were made to that asset management plan, so that should be finalized now. And then the next phase of that will be talking about the financing. So we'll go over that in subsequent meetings. So that's where we're at with that asset management plan. The reliability study is just about complete. Paving projects, which are also under my report. As it says in the report, those projects are going to wait until the Free Bridge reopens. The contractors that we have doing that, the type of materials they're bringing across, we need the weight limits that the Wayne County Bridge provides for that work. There is one other thing that I wanted to mention. Wayne County made us aware back in, I believe it was March, of a Wayne County Township partnership program for residential roads, in which you could apply for 50% funding for local local road rehabilitation. So I did submit for funds for both Elba, and I submitted for funds for the concrete road sectioning. So they would cover up to half of that cost if we're awarded those dollars. So, and I think Elba was 300,000, so that would have been 150,000. And then I think the concrete roads were 3 or 4 or 500,000. I don't recall right off the top of my head how much they were, but I want to say I submitted for 250,000 for that. So if we are awarded those dollars, then what we would just do is, expand those projects potentially with the vendors who've already said that they're willing to expand their contracts to additional work. So we'll just put that money right back into the roads and increase the scope of work. So I hope to hear shortly about whether we're receiving those dollars or not. But it sounded like it was a good program as far as the success level. So I'm optimistic about that, but I'll report back if we get word that funds have been allocated. So, Elba Island pavement rehab, East River to the gate. So, that's once again waiting for the bridge to open. The board addressed the special assessment for the private section at the meeting last night. There will be a public hearing on that on June 9th. And then once that public hearing takes place, we should be in pretty good shape to be on schedule to do that work on Elba, along with the private residents on the remainder of that. That about concludes the engine.
Before you leave Elba,
Yeah.
When we talked about the asphalt work on Elba, that was our only asphalt project. You remember we looked at the intersection of South Point at Swan?
Yes.
I pulled the old map out that we had prepared months ago, and I saw that. That's asphalt work. Just wanted to remind you.
Yeah, and we did have Rains go look at that, I think, after we talked about it at the last DPS meeting. And I believe I have a cost from the contractor for that section of pavement. So,
So it's still on your horizon then?
Yes.
Good. Okay?
next under my report is the water loss report. That was included in the packet. I think Commissioner Biddle had asked for the water loss for the Meridian water main. So that was included in your water loss report for this month. The running total so far is 24.172, going back to March of 22. Any questions about that?
Any questions? Lance?
No.
John, any comment?
The pump house update, that roof is complete. That work was done about a month or so ago. And there wasn't a tremendous amount of decking that needed to be replaced, so the project came in at about budget. So that work is done. We talked about the asphalt and concrete roads. Sewer work, that's rebid. Water asset management, we talked about. Plan, we talked about. Bridge update. I guess I would be interested in knowing if you have any questions to help direct an update that is valuable to the commission. Some questions that you might have or answers that you are looking for with regards to either of those projects. As far as the Wayne County Bridge, as Mr. Zalasko had mentioned earlier, all that we've heard from the county is that it is on track and on schedule for that 8-week time period. They haven't come across, according to them, anything that would indicate that there would need to be any extension of that work, but that was pretty much the extent of the update we received as of last Friday. The toll bridge, I did have our engineers out to the toll bridge today, and we just wanted them, after the toll bridge has been used for about 2 weeks now under the heavy amount of traffic that we have, to just review its condition. These are the same engineers that looked at it, close to a year ago in the full analysis, to make sure that they didn't notice any changes to that structure at all. I'm happy to report that the inspection went well today. They didn't notice any significant changes from the last time that they were out there. They were encouraged by the limitations, the way that the bridge is being managed as far as the traffic goes, and the precautions that we're taking to make sure that there isn't any damage that's caused by usage. So that was comforting to know that appears that the program that's in place is working as intended, and that the bridge doesn't show any additional significant signs of stress or anything for the past couple of weeks that it's been used in the capacity that it has. So that's good news there. I think last night I reported that the township's engineer for the toll bridge, we had a kickoff meeting last week to start the process of engineering the work on the toll bridge. And there'll be subsequent meetings with the board as they start moving through that process to update them on the design, where we're at in the schedule, the different engineering companies that they're bringing on board to help assist with the work that needs to be done. So look for those meetings here in the next couple of months, I hope. As they have their information put together, they'll be ready to sit down with the board and update them. So that's what I have to report on those two structures, unless there are any questions.
I have one. Relative to the toll bridge, is the design point to bring that to a Class A level bridge from a weight load capability, Derek?
The intent is to bring it up to 36 tons. So if that's Class A, then I would say yes. But I don't recall right off the top of my head what Class A is classified as.
I'm not sure that's a Class A.
Yeah.
I think that might be a little bit less than that. And the only reason I asked that question is, given what we just kind of talked about with, the Wayne County Bridge and, maybe the lack of action, and then, we still have the pier issues and everything else like that, that they're not being addressed this time. We don't know when they're going to be addressed in the future too, right?
I think the direction that was given to the engineers during the original proposal to make sure that the finances were crafted properly was to make sure that that bridge could satisfy any two-way traffic that the township might need, basically unrestricted. So to model it off of the toll bridge. So I think that the lowest axles that limit was supposed to be 36 tons, and then it would go up from there. Okay. So that was the direction provided to the engineers. That was what the engineers' estimates were based off of. So I think that we were fairly confident that that bridge would be able to satisfy any and all traffic that really could service, that needed to service Groseal during a Wayne County closure. So,
Okay. In the future, yes.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Before I go to John, Margaret, you're still here, so I'm going to just comment. We haven't been involved in the, nor should we have been, in the toll bridge or dealing with the county about its bridge. That's remained with the elected officials. Hot topic. We're just asking what the schedule is, and anytime Derek has a chance to try to get something out to the public about what's going on. He can use your forum as well and your township board, but also our meeting, so,
I think that's a brilliant idea. I think the more people that hear these things, the better.
thank you.
So I appreciate it.
Yep. You're done.
Unless there are any questions, that wraps up my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, you got an update?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. The DPS Maintenance Division will be starting our annual fire hydrant maintenance and flushing program in the next week or so. So look for the notices on the code red or on the website informing you what area we'll be in so you don't get discolored water into your white laundry. And pay attention to those announcements if you can. And then also regarding Margaret's comments, the state does mandate that we sample for lead in drinking water annually. That begins in June and goes through September. So last year in September of '24, the state mandated that we have a lead service line inventory completed, knowing exactly where our lead service lines are and how many we have, which was completed on time. If anybody has any concerns regarding their lead service lines, feel free to reach out to us. We have to get that onto our website soon, just to let everybody know that we're aware of it and they can access that information as well. And then also we're required to do 3% removal every year. So we'll be moving forward with that in the summer of 2025 as well. And then also, Bill, for your information, the DPS did celebrate National Drinking Water Week last week. We had a banner placed at the Bridge and Meridian intersection.
Oh, did you? Okay,
Promote our department.
good. Needs
That's all I
promote.
have.
We need to promote public works, that's for sure. So, all right, so then, next, as chairman, I don't have any additional comments. We covered everything, and I'm gonna ask commissioners for a comment. And I'm gonna start with Lance.
None of this time.
Welcome to the commission.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You've lived on the island all your life?
Yes.
Your father was in charge of the water department for many years. So you understand what's going on with us. And I know for several years now, Lance has brought his father to our meetings and stayed here for the meetings, stuck out the meetings. So we're glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Bill.
Anything else you want to say?
No comment at this time.
Don't be shy now.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to keep it low right now.
Ray's not shy, and neither is
The
Kevin.
second
so-
meeting might be different. We'll see.
All right, Ray,
I have nothing.
nothing? Okay. Kevin?
I do have a couple things. First of all, I wanted to go back to Derek, and what's the program? It's a 50-50 split with assuming we're awarded the money, with the county for, is there a name to this?
They call it the County Township Partnership Initiative, I think is what
Okay.
it's called.
And the reason I'm bringing it up again, one of the things I heard when I was out meeting people in the township is we should be leveraging the dollars we have put in with the county to get the county to help pay for some of the road work that we're paying for out of our township coffers. So I think that's great to know. Is it 50-50 on the amount that we're able to spend in a particular year? Is that the way it?
So it was project specific, so you had to have the project engineered and preferably bid and awarded, which we have both of those projects bid and awarded. And it was only available to communities that had the ability to provide basically 50% of the cost. So, I mean, one of the things that I guess that's good with that millage is we had those dollars to help leverage, and be able to participate in programs like that. So ultimately they're Wayne County roads and you'd love them to pay 100% of them, right?
Right.
But, and that's the way it should be, but nonetheless, it's project specific. So I think, like I said, Elbow was 300,000, so it would be 50-50, half county, half township.
I think that's great news to get out to the taxpayers that we are, because of the program that they put together, the county put together, that we're able to leverage our money in some way. And the other, since we were talking about the toll bridge. Is there a status on the toll bridge commission that we can tell anybody?
So the board approved the resolution, setting up the commission. I believe that it was advertised. I believe it's in place. I'd have to check with Brian to see, what the timelines for that were. But that should have satisfied that timeline by now, I would imagine. We have, a variety of applications. So I think that it's a matter of sitting down, going through the process of interviewing those individuals, and, making the appointments to that commission. So, should be coming here fairly shortly. It's just, that's the next step.
Is the township still accepting applications?
Yes, and that's the other thing we need to check on is whether that's been officially advertised or not, because I don't know that off the top of my head. But we would want to make sure that we've given it the official advertisement and, gone through that period of time that the policy requires us to advertise for those vacancies. So I need to check with that as well to see where we're at, because I think the ones that we've received so far, have just been people that have
Heard
maybe
about
not
it.
seen anything, just heard about
Right.
it. Yeah. Yep.
So we're in the process. That's great. Thank you. Thanks.
And I just want to make a final comment, since you're raising questions like this, and for Margaret too. When we deal with the county, when they talk about roads, the things that they keep saying back to us, and this, I'm going back years, this has been their speech, and it's understandable. They talk about, well, first of all, we're going to look at the condition of the road. You take Meridian, for example, we know it's bad. And then they talk about congestion. So we don't have a lot of congestion. Then they talk about traffic volumes. We don't have a lot of volumes. And then they talk about accidents, crash history. And fortunately, we don't have a lot of accidents. And you compare that with what we're up against. So county money is going to Ford Road in Canton Township, maybe 7 Mile in Livonia, maybe Middle Belts through several communities. We're into some big competition for the money, so anything we get from them, we certainly appreciate. But that's what we're up against when they budget their annual budget. So their dollars only go so far, and I'm not making excuses for them because I really don't have a lot of, well, I'll just keep my mouth shut here. But at any rate, that's the kind of, I'm glad you were here to listen to all this. Yes, tonight. So thank you for coming.
Couple of quick real items that you jog my memory. So speaking of traffic counts, the township is going to be placing traffic counters on Bridge Road right before the toll bridge, probably Thursday or Friday of this week. We want to get some numbers on the crossings, just so that, and also understand when that traffic is occurring, because we've been noticing some very strange traffic patterns up at the bridge. A given is that we have a heavy flow of traffic off the island in the morning. Normally it's heavy from like 7 to 9, but what we've been seeing is a lot of daytime traffic coming back onto the island from basically 9 until like 2 in the afternoon. It's fairly heavy. And then we get a little bit of break from like 2 to 3, and then it picks back up from 3 to like 5:30. So we want to get those counts, but we also want to do it so that we put some information on paper for future planning purposes, because as we have that information, we start adjusting some of our police coverage and also understand better why we're seeing what we're seeing when we're seeing it. So if you see some tubes across the road, they're look like garden hoses. That's what those are, and those should be out there on Thursday and Friday, starting Thursday or Friday, and they'll be out there for a couple of weeks, and that's the purpose. Also, and this comes out of public safety, I've been at the intersection with the guys a number of times, and I've witnessed this myself, the police officers, that is. The lack of the use of turn signals has been causing a lot of problems, because the officers that are directing traffic, they don't understand what your intention is, whether you're turning left or you're turning right, you're going straight. So it has a tendency to hold up the line, because they actually have to physically stop you because they don't understand where you're going or where you're trying to get to. Because if you're going a certain direction, they might have to stop traffic coming from the other direction, and so on and so forth. So just encourage the residents, use your signals. even though they're there, you might think, well, they're directing you, but they need that signal to know where to direct you to, where you want to go. So just, I know the police department put out a Facebook post earlier today, but if we have the opportunity here to get it out to the residents, might as well do that, and that will help with traffic flow and safety for that matter. So.
Margaret has mentioned that multiple times and put that on I don't know, Facebook and other places. And thank you for doing that. Do you have any comments that you would like to make regarding that and the police?
Yeah, we can just reiterate what Derek said. It's, so they're directing traffic from 3 directions, so at least on the island. I watched a Riverview officer, he was directing traffic by himself today, on the other side, and I felt for him because it's a rough one when you're doing it completely by yourself. Usually it's Chief Carmack and Deputy Chief Brozick that are doing it on the Groseal side, and a lot of times they'll even have one of the reserve officers, Officer Kelly, is assisting them, and sometimes there's others, but the reason the signal is so important is they can get you moving efficiently if they know where you're going. And like Derek said, if they have to stop you because they don't know what you're doing, you're holding up a big long line, most likely at that time. It just makes a big difference. And I think there's a lot of confusion too that I mentioned yesterday. There's big arguments that on the Riverview side, you should be able to use those lanes to. So let's say, for instance, you're heading south. So when officers are directing you, they're allowing that middle lane, if you will, to go to the bridge pass lane. And then the inside lane that you normally would use without an officer, that gets you just that left-hand turn, that takes you, with an officer directing you, to the cash and credit lane. People are thinking that they can do that middle lane when there's no officers. It's really not optimal. I guess if there's not a lot of traffic, but let's say people are following the rule of the road, no officers, that left turn gets you to either one of those bridge road lanes, and if somebody is turning next to you and thinks they're also going to the pass lane, and it's a potential for an issue. And I know people are arguing about it. Officers said I can do this. Yeah, when they're there, you can do that. So I'm not a director of traffic, but I'm just providing that suggestion
Good
to
point.
anybody.
Very good.
Yep.
Do you think we could ever get something videotaped out there?
It's funny you're saying that because I was going to talk to Brian, and I just, when you have a full-time job, and then, as you know,
Right.
a full-time job
Right.
as a trustee.
I'm not suggesting you do it.
No, but I was going to try to talk to Brian today, and I had too many meetings. But that's something I had considered doing. He's been doing podcasts. That might be something you guys might want to consider
that's
too.
a great idea.
We could take it on the road, and you guys can show whatever you need to show. I don't know, your thoughts on that, Derek, if that's something you guys would be interested or not. But I was going to suggest to Brian and see what we could do for exactly what you're suggesting that might help people if they're visualizing.
It's hard to visualize
Right.
when you talk about it, but I know Bob Zelasco did fantastic videotapes years ago, and I found them very helpful.
Yeah, and I did go out with them the first 2 days that they directed. I went out 2 mornings, and then I went out one evening, just so I could understand and be able to speak to it. And it would probably be, I don't know, we could talk about it, but it might be something we could, video so people understand pretty well. Like I could ask Deputy Chief Brozick, he's really good at stuff like that, to assist with something. That way Brian's not out there,
And I don't mean to throw another thing on what you're
No,
doing.
I think that's a
but
good
It would
idea.
be cool. It'd be great to be able to.
No, and I was going to call Brian today, and I just didn't have time. So it's good that you're reminding me.
Thank you
I'll
for
try to catch
everything
up
you're
with
doing
him.
with that,
Yep.
and I think you were out in the rain with them.
I was just solidarity.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, are any other comments? If not,
Bill, actually, I would. So, not only would I like to thank the police department for their above and beyond efforts up there directing traffic, but every other township employee that's stepped up and has done everything they can as well, including in this building, the maintenance department, the DPS. Everybody is pulling their fair share, especially Margie Gape, who is pulling her hair out with the passes. So thank you to everybody for their efforts.
Well, it's a big challenge, and I know you guys are working hard at it, so we appreciate it.
I will second that, and I've seen everybody in the township working very, it's added just a huge different, the bridge has added a finance department, the treasurer's office, administration, so it is a big thing, and everything that everybody is doing, and I don't know everything that everybody's doing, but what I do see is it's significant, so I thank you for pointing that out. Thank you.
Point, John. All right, with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there support?
Second.
I'll second.
We'll let Lance, because he hasn't.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I support. All in favor? Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
You're not gonna change that tradition.